This is going to be short and sweet as it always is. This is episode 2 of me sharing my story with you guys. So listen, this is going to be good today because this is good. And I'm going to start off this video by saying, I can't out hustle my traumas. I can't out hustle my triggers. You see, what happened was, this pandemic caused me to sit down and have to face myself because I didn't have all the activities and things that I normally have going on. So I had a lot of time to spend with myself. And what would happen is things would come up. Those things, traumas, baggage from old relationships that I had buried under work and travel and activities and things like that, and active life. I had buried and out hustled it. At least I thought I did. Tried to out hustle all of that energy from old relationships, trauma from old relationships, baggage from old relationships. I buried all of that and never processed it. So it came up during this time, and it's a good time for it to come up because now I have time to process it. And it's actually scary. It's like I had buried all of that stuff and tried to move on into other relationships, and those triggers and traumas would come up in those new relationships. I would see it, but I would just be like, I don't know, dress it up with romance and candles and all the things. Girl, child, listen, it's going to catch up. My thing is, it caught up with me at the perfect time because it's not like I'm dating anybody. I wasn't dating anybody at the top of the year. I haven't dated anyone for the last 2 years. So this is a perfect time where there's nobody in the picture. I can deal with my shit. And when they come up, the traumas and the triggers and the baggage and all that, as it comes up, I get to look at it and go, ooh, man. I get to see it and I learn from it. It's like it just went unprocessed for years, and I was just taking it on with me, dragging all that shit into new relationships and new, circumstances with old unprocessed shit. Those balls of rubber bands that you see in certain stores, like Staples or home office, stores, office stores, stuff like that. They have these balls of rubber bands. And that's what trauma, unprocessed trauma looks like. That ball of rubber bands, mad rubber bands. And at some point, it just begins to unravel, or it pops. Like it gets to the place where it's so many rubber bands around that ball that it just pops. And you better hope, if you are in a relationship and that ball pops, that you are with somebody who has great bedside manners, knows how to help you process your stuff, or is just compassionate and gentle as you process your stuff. But if you're single, like me, great time for you to get to know your junk. Know your junk, It's great when you sit down with people the first few dates and they're like, oh, tell me about yourself. And you're like, oh, I'm this and oh, I'm that. And I got this going on. And my credit score is this. Or if you go that far in the first few dates or whatever. But the point is, you give all the shiny shit. But you don't mention or care to bring up, at least not soon. There's a time to bring up your baggage, or you just may choose not to bring it up at all, especially if you're dealing with it on your terms. That's your business. But if you do get to the place where it's an intimate relationship and you do want to share these things with that intimate partner, where you're like, look, I got daddy issues, I got trust issues, I got abandonment issues, whatever your issues are, at least you have dealt with them first. You're able to articulate them one by one, so that when you do get deeper and more intimate into this relationship with this person, you are able to speak to who you are, not just the good shiny shit, but the deep dark shit too. The deep dark stuff that you don't want to deal with or don't want to show people or whatever, but You want to show this person you're able to articulate it. It's clear. You know what your issues are and you can move forward. So there's that. The other thing, that I'm dealing with now is, being able to be comfortable with those issues. Like, once they come up, I can address them and develop new habits and beliefs to push forward and push past those issues. That's the tricky thing. That's the tricky part. You see, like, you've dealt with these things and you see the issues that you have or whatever like that. But now it's like, how do I overcome this? Okay, I see it. I'm sitting with it. I'm getting to know it. Okay, so how do I break these bad habits or break this cycle of thinking? That's the phase that I'm in now. And it's easier said than done because I have some hard pressed beliefs about certain things. So I have to practice every day speaking in a new way. Like, my language has to change on certain things, especially in regard to relationships. The way that, because the language changes how I see it. So I use different language. I make sure to stay away from people who think like that old mindset that I used to have. Like, I don't even have conversations with a lot of women about their relationships unless they just really want to, share with me. I create space for that. That's fine. But for the most part, I don't pull up on the all girls, moment and be like, girl, how your man doing? How's that relationship? I don't really care. It's your business. But if you want to share that with me, if you want some feedback or if you want my take on something, by all means, I welcome that. But like I said, it's like I steer clear of the negativity around relationships. If I know that a specific person that I kick it with has a negative outlook on relationships, I'm not talking to them about relationships. If they think all men are a certain way and it has to do, it's a negative descriptor for men, I stay away from them. Just basically keeping my energy clear, keeping my mind clear, so that I reinforce the positives that I do want to see in my life and reinforcing the positive beliefs and ways of thinking on those things so I can press forward. So, always about just moving forward. I look back, I don't even like talking about old relationships at this point. It's like, they're in the past, they happened. If I talk about anything in the past, it's like, how did I feel during that time? I don't victimize myself. I don't demonize a man that I used to deal with or anything like that. I own my place in that interaction, and I'm able to see how my behavior could have caused that specific outcome. So, in learning about my traumas and my triggers and my issues, I'm also finding that I'm much more accountable than I was previously. Of course I've had conversations where I was like, this guy did me wrong, he did me dirty, and I've been there. But now that I have a little more insight and information, I'm well informed about the whole thing, and I've had time to sit with it and think about it and really reflect on it, I find that I'm much more accountable. I find myself choosing accountability over blaming, choosing accountability over pointing out the wrongs in another person. I'm like, it's a waste of time. I can't control them anyway. I can control me at this point. It's a level up in terms of how I engage my past, how I engage my traumas, my triggers, my issues. It's a level up for real. It's like, I played my part in that and XYZ a thing and move forward. So yeah, like that unprocessing of old stuff, nah. This, let me tell you, that's the level up for the year, for probably the decade for me, is to process my stuff. So part of my processing comes with, of course, therapy, a lot of journaling, and a lot of journaling and writing. And I used to get to the place where I used to call people and ask them questions like, what do you think about this instant that, like this circumstance that I was a part of, and trying to get their take on it and insight. And it's like, wait a second here. Because what I was doing was trying to get somebody else to define what I experienced. And it's like, nah. They weren't there, number one. Number two, that people, your friends mean well. They're always going to give you advice if you ask for it. But and they're trying to root for you, and they're going to keep your best interest at heart. But at the same time, they're only going to be able to give their perspective based on their vantage point. Meaning, they're over here. They weren't even there. They weren't in the vicinity of you and that person's relationship. So it's but so much advice that they can give you. And you probably not even giving the full story. You're giving your perspective of the story from your vantage point. So it's, what I'm saying is, I deal with my own shit. Like, I deal with it on my own. I don't hop on the phone calling 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 friends to help me think through and process some situations. If it's not a trained professional or me, my God, and my piece of paper, those are the only people that need to be helping me suss this out. Because your friends, they mean well, but it's not going to be objective feedback. It's just going to be feedback to praise and placate you and pacify you. And yes, the friends are needed. You know, I need my friends and my sisters as support system. You know, they're there to pacify me if I call them and all the things. But at the end of the day, most of the work is coming from me. And it's just more objective. It's better for me. It's a better flow. I don't want to hear too many voices and opinions anyway. So, because as a rule of thumb, I just don't like a whole lot of energy and voices around my life. So I tend to kind of keep it close proximity. Me, maybe one other friend if I need to talk to them, God, and that's really it. So that's it for today. I'm signing off. See you next time.